OK, very good. Here's how Group D looks after the first round of matches, and Croatia sitting at the top there. Could be an important win for them this evening. The next fixtures, Argentina-Croatia, is huge on Thursday. Modric with his first ever World Cup goal. There were 5 penalties in this day today as well, the most since France '98. Deserving winners, Eamon? Croatia?
Yeah, it was a good performance by them. In the second half particularly, they pushed on. They wanted to get the deal finished, and they did it. I thought there was some very good performances. Modric was absolutely outstanding. Rakitic, Mandzukic, very, very good performance against a team that really didn't have a plan B. And they did dig deep. They came out at the start of the second half, Nigeria, and they tried to push forward. They did up the tempo, but quality told in the end. And the penalty incident was the killer blow. And it's very good that a referee has taken a stand in the first few days of this tournament. You can't do that, because we're used to seeing it in the Premier League. If you look at Juventus and you see Chiellini, Basagli, they're wrestling people to the ground. It's wrong, and Richard I'd be interested in.
Well, let's have a look at it. Here it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't notice it in real time, and you can't see it, and that's why the referee's in a good position, and he's obviously made his mind up when he left the dressing room. If this happens, I'm going to stop it. And Obi Mikel there is saying it happened down the other end as well, and it may well have done, because Lovren wouldn't be. Now watch this. That is undoubtedly a penalty. Richard, how many times has that happened to you when you've gone off?
A lot of times it happens, actually, and it's something. When Ireland played Italy in the Euros, I was doing the match, and then the first half there was an incident with Chiellini, and Howard Webb, the referee, was there, and I was saying that's a penalty, and he says it's not, it's good defending, and it was like that, and I said
really,
and his thought was, yeah, but that's what the Italians do, so that's a good, and it's like, but it's illegal, so it's a penalty.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they've given it, but there has to be a strict line, and it's like, is it a penalty every time, or is it a penalty when the referee decides there is? If there's clear guidelines, people will understand it, and it will stop. But if you do it from game to game, it changes.
Yeah.
Well, then it will never catch on as an actual rule.
Yeah, I think, just like Richie says, I think you have to be consistent across all the leagues, all across Europe. Like you're saying, Chiellini there, Italy, recent weeks, Ramos. Like if you think of Ramos at set pieces, he's grappling people, but in England, that'll be a penalty. So be consistent. And it's good that it's been given tonight. It plants a seed maybe for the rest of the tournament, whether he had it in his head. You know, referees have meetings as well. And, you know, whoever the technical, the head of the referees, they're told maybe look out for this tonight. So maybe he had it in his head. And again, the most pleasing thing on top of that is VAR wasn't needed for he saw with his naked eye. So he didn't need a computer.
If you watch when John Obi Mikel complains, I mean, watch this. This is, as you said, Dara, it's neck roll in rugby.
Well, you can't even get off the ground. You can't even get a spring.
It's
so
blatant.
Like, blatant penalty. So I don't know what he's arguing over John Obi Mikel.
I think what he's arguing, he's saying it happened up the other end to us.
Well, that's consistency then, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's what we need is consistency in the game. And it's not there. You'd see it in the Premier League all the time, Damien.
Yeah.
Of course you do. John Terry, Cahill, people like that at Chelsea. They just do it, and the referees don't have the conviction to do it. When it was first brought in, there was one of the Euros Championship 4 or 5 years ago, and they said, OK, we're not going to stand for this anymore. And in the first match, the referee gave a penalty for exactly that kind of thing. Forgot about it. Yeah. And now it's a cancer in the game because everyone is doing it, and it's cheating.
But I was just looking at it, Richard. You know, when you see it again, like Ekong has him around the neck, but he actually managed, and like Mandzukic is a big guy, and he manages to pull him to the ground. Like again, the force is so, or you know, he's put so much power into doing this that he's like Mandzukic just hit the floor. Just to look at it again, like and it's from the other angle, it's nearly clearer as the force that he drags him to the floor with.
Yeah, but he's still complaining about why that's a penalty. Yeah. And that's because he's done it before and got away with it. Yeah. And you wouldn't be surprised if someone's gone, listen, this number 5 off Nigeria, he's going to be pulling us. And the referees thought before going into this game, if he does that, I'm going to give a penalty. So you need to be careful that you're not saying it about Ikong from Nigeria and then about Ramos from Spain is different because they play for Real Madrid, they're these superstars. So it needs to be across the board for everybody that it's a penalty, and then it will stop.
But even dark arts of the game, like we've all played, you're going off at half time, Mandzukic, like this is what players do. You go up to the referee, have a look at him in the second half. He's dragging me every time. That's what players do. So maybe it's actually Mandzukic that told him to have a look, not his boss.
Yeah, all right.
But because it has to follow through. You have to follow through. Will they do it, as you said, to the big players, Ramos or Thiago Silva playing for Brazil, somebody like that? Because they do that stuff. And the problem for a centre-half or anyone in that situation, if you don't do it, your own lads might get onto you. You know, he wasn't even looking at the ball. Mandzukic was looking at the ball. The defender was just intent on hauling him down, and he didn't pick that up. You know, he's seen other people do it.
So, Richard, say when it has happened to you, and I know you never did that down the other end to any attacker, no matter where it was, but look, you know, the conversation with the referee then, like let's say you have gone through that kind of an experience, and more often than not your experience was the referee doesn't give a penalty. So what happens then, or what's the conversation with the ref?
It's just a frustration then in players, and that's when trouble starts, because to get away from it, you've got to wrestle to get you away from it. But the referee looks at you and he can see what's happening, because, like Damien says, the next time you go for a corner, you say, please just watch him and see what happens. They'll do it again, and he'll go, oh, he's about at it. And it's like, well, in that situation, it's clear that the defender started the incident. But yeah, that's why for referees, when I was playing, it wasn't a clear-cut situation, because there was no guidelines on it. I think now, you said they've brought it in, so there's clear guidelines, but you have to stick with them. They can't just decide in this match it's all right, but later on or against the good side, we'll move it on.
Yeah, I mean, you do see it in the Premier League all the time. Vidic, say, who played for Manchester United, captain Manchester United, and in one of the years they won the Premier League, they only conceded 14 goals. But he would have done it. John Terry would definitely do it. Cahill is another one. Now England will do it. Smalling, Jones, those guys, they do it. And it's just part of the culture of the game. And you've got to root that out of the culture of the game. And the only way to root it out is to do what that referee did tonight. And now, in that incident, it was so blatant. But in real time, I didn't notice it, did you?
I can't, no.
Did you, Richard? Because we've just come to accept it.
Yeah.
In real time, you know, we didn't even see it. And, you know, it's a good example. I would use the VAR for that.
We were given clear rules when we played in the Premier League. They said before the season, don't be grabbing anybody in the box because it's going to be a penalty. Yeah. I'd be interested to see if they had the same conversation in Spain and Italy and stuff like that, because it's never been pulled up at all for them. They've just continued to do it, and whether it's club teams or international level, for them that's a sign of good defending, because they're tight and they're getting away with it. Once they get caught, then it'll be a different story.
In very simple terms, if you don't follow the law, it's anarchy. If it's anarchy, then you get injustice, and then you get everybody doing it, and the game is somehow diminished as a sport. And that's why rugby is so good, for example. You see it. It happens. They look at it, you get a yellow card, and that's the end of it. Now, we have to stop that, because who does it penalise? The honest player, the best header of the ball, someone who's trying to do it right. And Juventus are absolutely notorious. The Italians in general.
Well, if you're a defender playing in the World Cup, sitting at home tonight, and you're maybe playing tomorrow, Thiago Silva, Brazil, it would plant the seed, would you?
Absolutely.
Would it not, Rich? No?
Yeah.
You're going to mark off a set piece tomorrow, you'll think, hold on a minute, I might give away a penalty here. So I think it's definitely it's good that he's given
the way to do it would be if referees go into the dressing room, both dressing rooms, before the game, say, you cannot do that. Don't be surprised if you give away a penalty. It's not rocket science. It just has to be applied. And you need some courage as a referee. And we'll see in the tournament other situations like that, where the big clubs, as Richard said, are involved, the Ramos, people like that, Brazilians. Will he give it then? He gave it against Nigeria. But, you know, Nigeria aren't a world power, a great nation, and they have a good tradition. But they were never going to win the World Cup. What will happen if it's in the final?
I think if we looked back over that match again, we'd see other incidents the exact same. But
Yeah.
because that one's got highlighted, we've obviously got the footage, we've watched it over and over. But I'd be interested to see if it
Yeah.
on other corners, whether it was the same situation.
You're just looking for homework to take home with you tonight, aren't you? You're elected. You can sort. No, we will have a look, but it's something we will follow because, like with the VAR stuff, all anybody wants is consistency, and
Yeah.
they have laid down a marker. Let's see if the referees follow it through. We're just going to show you Modric scoring his first ever World Cup goal just from the penalty spot. Lovely penalty, as I mentioned, 5 penalties in the one day, and this, well, just sealed the deal and sealed the victory. Yeah. They're all good penalties when they go in the back of the net. We're going to look, Richard, at Nigeria's play. And, you know, as Eamon said, they did lift it. They did raise it after half-time, as they had to do because they were trailing 1-0 at the break. They got into good positions, but it was about what followed that on the final ball, and it just didn't happen for them.
No, it didn't, and it was unfortunate because they actually started the second half with a really good tempo, and they looked like, well done, you're going to start, you're going to put a bit of pressure on. You see here Moses, this is after 15 seconds, 20 seconds, closing them down. And then we're hoping here, once they get into these areas, can they start to do something? But each time the build up to a certain area was great, and they cut inside, and inevitably the final ball was they chose the wrong decision each time. We were talking earlier about Ericsson getting one chance and one decision to make, and he made a right run. Here, great run again. You get into these positions, this is when it's got to count, and the ball goes straight into the goalkeeper's hands. And that's, I mean, Croatia weren't clinical in what they done. They got an OG and a penalty, but they're efficient, whereas Nigeria had a lot of the ball and actually played reasonably well up to a certain point, up to this point. But then once they got there, they don't know whether they were rushing it or the movement wasn't great up front, and they were just, I wouldn't even say they were unlucky, they were just sloppy with what they were doing and making the wrong decisions. So I would say on the other side, it'd be a worry for Croatia, because if they can get into that sort of position as Nigeria, there's going to be better teams against them coming up who will take advantage of them positions. Yeah, that's the point. You know, we're looking at the strengths in the Croatian team, and it's obvious with the quality of players they have.
Yeah.
But the weaknesses.
Well, the next game they play is against Argentina, and if there's so much space there, Messi will run riot. I mean, Iceland stopped Messi today, put 10 men behind the ball, and there was 3 men on him every time he got the ball. Now, there's big space. Rakitic is on one side, Modric on the other, and they're too far apart, and they don't appear to have a good, strong player there in the middle who can get tackles in, win the ball, and pressurise the ball. And they're going to have to do that again in the next game, because it's a huge game. Argentina are 2 points behind them. Top in the group is very important. So I think that's where they'll have a problem with Lionel Messi, and with the better sides, that those things that Richard just showed you, and there were more, that where Nigeria did get into dangerous areas. Well, dangerous areas, the serious players will punish it. Take, for example, Spain. You let Iniesta in there, Isco, people like that. You know, you're in trouble. So that would be my doubt about, I think, Croatia. That just need to shut the game down.
I think with Croatia as well, Dara, like you forget to mention, they scraped through. Like Iceland topped their group. Yeah, they've got that touch of class like we've seen tonight. That's what edged the game. But Spain, your Germany, like they're another level, and that's why they'll get points, they'll get out of the group, but they're not going to threaten to win the trophy. Iceland topped the group, and I think they beat Greece then in the playoffs. Like going into Thursday, they could potentially put Argentina on the floor, possibly out, if they beat them. So massive game, and like Eamon said, to get 6 points and be top in the group. But if they go toe-to-toe with Argentina, that's where Messi could kill you. If they sit back, which they inevitably might do, because Argentina will have a lot of the ball, I think Croatia could kill them, because Rebic, Perisic, Mandzukic will bully them 2 centre-halves. So it could be tailor-made for them to turn Argentina over on Thursday.
Yeah, it's a massive game, isn't it? Huge. Croatia, Argentina. Yeah, it is a young team, and they will keep going. They have Iceland at the end of the week. Eamon, your thoughts on
Yeah, I think you can see the emotion in his voice. You know, they're a really great footballing nation. They're great people. We have a lot of people of Nigerian descent in this country, and they're wonderful people. They love their football particularly, and I hope that I live to see a Nigerian playing for Ireland, or someone whose family were from Nigeria. And when those young people now come up and play and become great players, because they can. They're great people, they love their soccer, and so it's a sad night for them, and you could see it in his face, you know. He's been a really good player, he's been a top player for a long time. He's in China now, so he'll have a few bob. So it's, you know, we must remember what a great sporting nation it is, and we're going to have the benefit of that in years to come.
OK, well, it was Croatia's night, but all not lost for Nigeria, with Iceland to come. Now